Welcome. It's the Close the Deal show with Terrence McCray. It's a pleasure. San Francisco viewers, I'm back again. Today, I would like to touch on a very important and often sensitive topic. To assist me in doing so, I have a well respected human rights activist. His name is Darius Cyphrin. Please allow me to introduce Darius Cyphrin.
Hey, how you guys doing? How you doing?
It's a pleasure to have you.
All right.
Mr. Darius has brought so many things to my attention in regards to his organization. So, we are bringing him on the show for the reasons of other nonprofit organizations not only to learn more about how to structure their actual organization, but more or less in learning how they're able to stay afloat and get their message out there because their particular message is universal. So I'm allowed Darius to share with the San Francisco viewers and anyone that's out there that's interested in starting a nonprofit organization, the strategies in which they take. Mr. Darius, tell the viewers what your organization represents.
Okay. I'm Darius Cyprian, and I'm a senior organizer at All of Us or None. And All of Us or None is a nonprofit grassroots organization. And when we say grassroots, that's exactly what it means. It means grassroots. It means we're down in the grass, basically in the roots, in the dirt. We're down with the problems. We're down there with the ideas, and we're down there with the solutions. And what we do is we fight for the human rights and the civil rights, if you will, of those men and women that are currently and formerly incarcerated, like myself.
Clearly, what have been the problems in the community in which you have found solutions?
Well, one of the problems we found was that a lot of men and women coming home from prison. You may be in prison for who knows how many ever years. However, but you may be doing a job in there, but when you get out, finding employment is often hard to find. And so one of the things All of Us or None did, we came with Ban the Box, the Fair Chance Ordinance, if you will. And Ban the Box, what it does is that when men and women come home from prison and they go to fill out a job application, they no longer have to worry about that box on the application that asks if you've been convicted of a felon or if you've been convicted or arrested of a crime. And that doesn't come until later on in the hiring process. If they offer you a conditional offer, then there's a background check and things of that nature. But what it does, it gives you enough time to, sell yourself, to tell a person who you are, who you were, what you're doing now, talk a little bit about your education, what certifications you have, and basically it opens some doors for you.
So how does your organization impact society?
I think we impact society on a lot of levels simply because we don't believe that, like we fight mass incarceration. We don't believe mass incarceration is just simply a criminal justice issue. We believe mass incarceration is a civil rights issue. We believe it's a human rights issue. We don't believe poverty is a crime. We believe that criminalization of poverty is a crime, but we don't believe poverty in itself is a crime. So those are some of the issues that we fight. And when our organization did things like fines and fees, that gives relief to everybody, not just formerly incarcerated people, but even those ones that are that oppose us. So, some of the jobs we do is all the way around the board. It helps everybody.
How did your organization get started?
All of Us or None is a component of legal services for prisoners with children. And legal services for prisoners with children has been around about 40 years. Dorsey Nunn, our executive director, he started it. And All of Us or None started from a friend of Dorsey's who passed away, Nate Harrington. He passed away. He was formerly incarcerated. He had cancer. He got himself his own G. He got himself his GED in jail, and he went on to become a lawyer. And the amazing part about the story is that he ended up working in San Francisco County Jail, and by him working in San Francisco County Jail, he made he made a lot of friends, a lot of contacts. So when he died, they end up naming the San Francisco County Jail ended up naming the library after Nate Harrington, and so they made a memoriam to him, and in that memoriam it was some of his favorite things, and one of the favorite things he had in there was a poem by Bertolt Brecht, and that poem was called "All of Us or None," and that's where our name comes from, and that was the inception of "All of Us or None," from a formerly incarcerated person.
Beautifully, beautifully well said. Often, a lot of nonprofit organizations encounter barriers with funding. How does All of Us or None organization close the right deal in this arena?
Well, one thing about All of Us or None, we're formerly incarcerated. We're built up from the bottom to the top. So funding formerly incarcerated people is not easy because people look at us, they say we're ex-cons. We don't use words like ex-cons. We say formerly incarcerated, but they say ex, but they really don't mean ex. They still mean cons. So by us being formerly incarcerated people, I think sometimes people are looking for us to do something wrong. However, but at All of Us or None and LSPC, for 40 years, there's been no discrepancies in our organization. There's been no mishaps, no misappropriation of funds and things like that. So I think it's your integrity that gets you your funds. It's the way you run your business. It's the things that you do, and I think we're recognized for our integrity. I think we're recognized for the actual work that we actually do, the laws that we actually get passed, the policies that we push, and the lives that we actually change. And I think that's what people see, and that's where we get our funding from. We don't get public funding; we get private funding. So and I think that's where it comes from.
Okay, there are a lot of activists from the past, whether it was Geronimo Pat, Kate Kelly, Harry Wu, Sojourner Truth, Coretta Scott King. These people all had a vision in making a difference, not only in this country, not only in the world, but in their communities.
Right.
So to hear your particular story, it not only moves me, but what motivates you to have the drive to get up every day and want to make a difference in society?
Well, I look at my own situation. I grew up in South Central Los Angeles. I'm a native of Los Angeles. And I look back, it's a lot of things I didn't know. I didn't know anything about mass incarceration. Nobody told me. And so once I learned about mass incarceration, I seen what it really was, and I saw how it affected me and my lives and my family. And then I started looking at how it's really affecting our society, the structural racism, the criminalization of poverty. And then I look at the men and women that's currently incarcerated today. They don't know about it. I didn't know about it. So my thing is, I feel like it's like my duty to bring awareness to it, to the public and to those men and women that are still behind these walls. And that's what I try to do. And I try to bring awareness to the public as well, whether it's conservative people or more liberal people. I want to get the message out, that mass incarceration, structural racism, I want them to know, hey, this is what's going on. We see it, and we're going to fight it.
So why should they take what you're saying as credible?
Because I lived it, I experienced it, and if you look around, you see it every day. You see it every day. You don't have to take my word for it. All you have to do is look at society, look at our president, look at the politics that's going on, look at what's being criminalized, look at who's being penalized, look at the communities. Just contrast the affluent from the poor. You know what I mean?
So when you say you've lived through it,
yeah, I'm living in it. I'm living it now.
Okay.
I'm not a fluent person. I'm working every day.
So you've experienced incarceration?
I've did 26 years in California Department of Corrections.
For what reason?
I was committed to prison for a second-degree murder in 1990.
And today, you are a human rights activist.
Today I am a civil rights and human rights activist. I'm a humanity. I fight for humanity, for the humanistic, anything humanistic I fight for. I fight against any kind of discrimination. So it doesn't matter what it is, I'm not for it. I believe we're all people. We all bleed red. We all, you know what I mean? We all need each other. I understand what community is today. So, yeah, that's what I do.
I have to ask you, what brought about this change?
Um, that's sort of a long story in itself. And, you know, I saw a documentary called The 13th. I read a book called The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. And I saw myself in those words. I saw myself in those pages. I saw myself on that documentary. And that's what brought about my change. When they put it together, when you could actually see it. So for those who haven't seen the documentary, The 13th, or haven't read Michelle Alexander's The New Jim Crow, if you want that perspective, you need to read it. You need to see the documentary. And the documentary or the book, it doesn't try to change your opinion. It just lays out facts. It just tells you things like, we live in a country where we're 5% of the world's population, but we're 25% of the world's prison population. How could that be? You know what I mean? Black people, African American people, make up 14% of this country's population, but we make up 40% of the prison population. It's things like that that woke me up. When you start looking at things like that, when I start looking at the pipeline from school to prison, when I start looking at 3 million African American kids across the country being suspended annually, when I start looking at the schools and you look at our schools look like prison. They got armed guards, they got police dogs, they got metal detectors. So you're already normalizing these type of things for the kids. So when the kids see an armed guard and a police dog and metal detector, that's leading them right down the track to detention center, to CYA, to prison, where they have armed guards, police dogs, and metal detectors. So they already normalizing it for them. You don't get that in the more affluent schools.
That is amazing to hear. You know, and actually in today's society, you're absolutely right.
Right.
In the world we live in. Unfortunately, just recently, yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
a tragedy happened in this country where some idiot randomly shot up a school and people were sacrificing their
Mm-hmm.
lives to save these kids.
Right.
And truly, truly, I mourn for these families and these victims. This was an unfortunate situation. So when you speak about human rights,
Mm-hmm.
this is what you're speaking about as far as injustice, an unnecessary, senseless act.
That's an unnecessary census act. But you know, schools I grew up in been getting shot up for years.
Correct.
I grew up in schools being shot up. You know, the school that have this happened to, there were no armed guards there. There were no metal detectors at this school. This was a suburb, school in the suburbs. You know what I mean? So the layout was a little bit different. The people that went to that school lived a different life. So you know, this shooting was done for different reasons. For the shootings that were done where I grew up at. You know what I mean? So, but it's
Do you advocate for that same right?
yeah, I advocate that it was wrong is wrong is wrong is wrong. You know what I mean? I advocate wrong is wrong is wrong is wrong. You know what I mean?
So would your organization denounce a gun bill in regards to that?
No. No, I wouldn't. I'm not sure what everybody in my organization would do, but I'm for changing gun laws
Okay.
personally. I think there needs to be a lot of change in a lot of different things, but
Because when you say all of us or none,
right,
there's a lot of people that are against the gun laws.
yeah, and you know, I can't participate in the Second Amendment. I'm a felon. I'm a convicted felon. I'm on parole, so you know, I they don't care what I have to say about the gun laws because I can't participate in the Second Amendment right now. I can't own a gun.
But you're participating in making a difference not only
Yeah.
in the community in San Francisco,
Mm-hmm.
but abroad. So
Right.
you're still doing a service.
Well, I could be the voice for those who can't speak, like the guys in solitary confinement, the guys in prison, the men and women who don't have a voice.
Correct.
And that's what we try to do with all of us. And we try to speak in our own voices about our own plights. I mean, nobody knows what we've been through more than we've been through. And I mean, we don't need somebody else to tell somebody else to tell our story for us. We can tell our own story. So we speak in our own voice at all of us, and that's the good part about our organization. We don't have anybody. There's nobody pulling strings. There's no puppets. You know what I mean? We're not just pushed out there like a lot of other organizations. You look at a lot of other organizations, they profess to want to help those that are formerly incarcerated, but then you look at their staff, they have no formerly incarcerated people on their staff. You go look at their staff. They don't have anybody formerly incarcerated on their staff, but they want to work for formerly incarcerated and help formerly incarcerated and say, hire these formerly incarcerated people. But look at them. They don't have anybody on their staff. So what is that?
So you're making a difference.
Well, I'm
and
trying.
your community is making a difference.
All of us and none is making a difference.
Correct.
Right.
And they're a part of the community.
Right.
And that's a wonderful thing to hear. And I'm glad that you was able to share with our viewers not only the strategies that one may have to face in your organization and the barriers that you have to encounter and deal with on a regular day basis, not only going to City Hall and campaigning for your actual organization, but hosting these events so that the community and the city know exactly what you're doing.
Right.
Because the funding that you receive, right, people not only want to see results, but people might want to also get completely involved.
Yeah.
Okay? So how could people get involved with All of Us or None?
They can look us up and go to allofusandnone.org and look us up. You can sign in to be a member. Just contact us at All of Us or None. We have different chapters in different states. You know, we have chapters in North Carolina, Texas. We have chapters in Long Beach, LA, San Bernardino. You know, so we ain't hard to find.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Right.
And certainly, I'll definitely want to bring you back on the show again.
I look forward to it.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me, Terrence.
Yes, there we have it. All of Us or None is an organization that is making human rights activist moves. And when I say moves, they're not just sitting around talking about what they're doing. They're getting out there in the community fighting and reaching out to prisoners and making it available for prisoners to contact them, whether it's in Chowchilla, Pelican Bay, San Quentin, or Donovan. They're actually doing something for prisoners. This is why their service, a legal service, is advocating for better human rights. In order for you to make the right deal, you need to be around the right type of people and find the right type of connections. And here today on the Close the Deal show, All of Us and None came to just not only do that, but to share that information. They explained a lot of things that their organization does and have been doing for the last 40 years. So tune in Monday nights at 8:30 on Channel 29, Cable Comcast. It's the Close the Deal show, where we like to educate the Bay Area on new business strategies. It was a pleasure to see you and be back again.